Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
Sam Healy. Welcome back, folks.
And finally, we're taking a look at Empires of the Void 2.
Yeah.
This is definitely a game people have been begging us to review for a while. Empires of the Void 1, I don't remember exactly when it came out, but it wasn't called Empires of the Void 1, it was just Empires of the Void.
Right.
But I remember playing it, I think, at Dice Tower Con 1 or 2.
Wow.
It was really close to the beginning there. And I remember thinking, wow, this is a really neat game, Empires of the Void, because you could get like ships. You like had a planet, and you could build ships that nobody else could build.
Right.
And it was a neat game, but it kind of faded. I didn't really think much about it over the years. I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool game. But Ryan Laukat's other games from Red Raven kind of eclipsed it as time went by. And playing Near and Far and all that. So Empires of the Void 2 came out. I just assumed that it was like 2.0.
Yeah, second edition.
It's not.
Nope.
It's a completely different game. There's some similarities between games. And that's actually all the talking I'm going to do about comparing this to the first one.
Okay.
Because I think they're that different of a game.
Yeah.
You don't need to have played the first one.
Nope. You don't. Yeah. You don't need to have played the first one. There aren't enough similarities really to make that large of a comparison anyway. So yeah.
Oh,
Just gonna review it on its own merit.
Well, let's take a look at it. I'm not going to be going over every rule of this game. If you want to see how the game plays, we had the designer Ryan Laukat come in and teach it to us live, so you can go watch a live playthrough where he explains the rules better than I ever could. So I just wanted to point out a few things about the game and kind of give you a little bit of a feel to what you're doing over the course of the game. You're trying to get the most points, and you have these planets that can be set up randomly. You're going to have planets all over the place. In fact, not every planet is going to be in every game. So that's one thing that's going to be randomized at the beginning of the game. You're also going to have various elements here, these tokens that will be randomized, and exploration tokens placed on all these small planets. And then different cards are going to be put into a deck based on what planet, but not every card from every planet is going to be used. There is a huge array of cards here that match the different planets, and so you're going to pick. So if you're playing with this planet here, some of these Tanlak cards are going to go into the deck as you form this deck. So there's going to be a lot of variety and a lot of different ways to how the game is set up. Each player is going to get an alien race. So you can see here the Academy of Egg, Parasites as Screech, Legions of Decima, the Oracles of Zun, and then the Nomads of Earth, the humans. And you're going to have some tokens on here. These are buildings that you'll be able to build as the game goes by. And so that's kind of, you each have your own ship too. So there's a giant plastic ship for each person, your world ship. The giant whistle here. Each of these ships has a very distinct look to it. And then you get a bunch of pieces, translucent control markers and things of your color, as well as various units that match you. They talk about you might have special abilities on these units. And then there's a whole pile of neutral units that you'll be able to get maybe by controlling different spots on the board. Now the main thing about the board is going to be taking place up here at the action selection area. So when players take their turn, they're going to be putting down an action that they're going to choose to do. You can't pick the same action that the person before you chose, so the one that it's on you can't do. So you're going to move to one of these actions and do that action. Each other player can also do that action, or they can refresh, which is kind of like resetting your board, getting income and stuff. Or you can take any action. You don't have to follow the action, but you have to pay to command. Players are going to have a certain amount of command on their player boards that they're going to start with. So here they start with 3 command, but as you build buildings, you will get more command as you move along, which will allow you to do more things. And one of the things that refreshing does is it's going to give you your command back. Refreshing will also give you income, which as you build cities, your income can go up and you'll get more money from doing that. So these are going to be directly related to when you refresh, and you have to decide, do you want to do the action that the other person did, or do you want to refresh or maybe take another action, but again, it's going to cost you 2 command to do so. The first action is move and attack. This is where you're going to be moving your ships around the board, and your world ship itself and other ships have the ability to carry units on them, ground units that you'll take from planet to planet. Sometimes when you're moving, you'll have to roll a certain number or higher to cross. Like here, to get across these asteroids, I need to roll 4 or higher. And you're paying command to move around the board, to move from systems. So you can get through these things, but it might be faster to go around another way. And when you land on planets, you'll have the chance to stay in orbit, maybe to attack the planet, because that gives you victory points. Not to mention, you want to control these planets either by attacking or working with them diplomatically, so that you can use their units. Each of these has different units and special abilities. An attack is pretty simple. You're going to, when using the different units that you have for attacking, they're going to give you dice. You'll roll dice, but you only use the single highest die rolled. Plus, they give you maybe an extra number, like these guys give you an extra 2 attack in space. The Starfarers give you an extra attack everywhere. And you'll also be playing a card from your hand, which will be adding to your attack. And the highest attack will win. And you can push people away, force people to retreat, or conquer planets and get points while attacking and moving. The next action, research and build, is where you're going to be messing with your faction itself and building buildings and or researching. And for that, you're going to need to be getting these little resource tokens that you'll be finding around the board. Some of these tokens are going to open up a special ability that you have. You'll put these here, and that ability is open, and you're going to also get victory points. You're also going to want to build these buildings, like I said. Some will get you extra cards, more money, have more command points, but to build these, they're going to have a cost. And there's a lot of costs here, although you can start covering these up to make the costs of building those buildings cheaper. Of course, each building that you build is going to successively make the next buildings more expensive. It's a pretty neat economic system, and so that's what you're doing here. The card action or diplomacy is where you're going to be trying to put your influence markers out, because you're going to want to have influence. Whoever has the most influence on different planets at the end of the game is going to get points, but they also let you use the units, and it's diplomatically working with these planets instead of attacking them. Now, to do that, you can use basically a generic diplomatic action, but usually you're going to be wanting to play cards that will say actions on them. So actions, they'll have a certain cost that you'll need to do, and then, hey, place 2 influence on Corlozan, roll a die. If 4 or more, also reset your command. And so a lot of these are going to be talking about very specific planets. That one talked about Corlozan here, which is where I'll be able to recruit these zealots that I showed you earlier. So that's a pretty neat idea. Here I can roll a die, add the power value of the discarded power card. You have to discard a power card to do this one. If it's 7 or more, put an influence on Corsair and gain 1 cyborg. If less than 7, only place 1 influence. And so there's lots of different actions. There's also missions that are triggered once you win and do something. Like here, you win a battle against a player, and then those will also let you put influence and sometimes get victory points. So that can be a pretty useful thing. Recruit is pretty simple. You're going to be able to just get more units from the different units that you have and put them out with you. And scavenge is basically just a way to refresh your stuff, and no one can follow you if you do that, or to pay 1 command point to do any action, which is the only way really to take the same action twice in a row. Now, event cards are going to show up, and they'll be placed sometimes on the planets themselves. So you'll put them right here to show that something is happening at those planets, and all things can happen. From here, there's a galactic cannon here. If you control this planet's surface, you get +1 attack power and all your other ones. And controlling these will do different things. A monster might show up on something, and there's only going to be these cards in the deck, some of these cards for each planet, and they're going to be only for planets that are available over the course of the game. There's also scorecards that you can get over the course of the game. If you do these things, you'll be getting these scorecards. If I build all my cities at the end of the game, I'll get 3 points. If I own at least 3 artifact goods, I'll get 2 points. And there's various ways, and so as you collect these cards at the end of the game, you'll be able to flip these over and score points for them. Now, once again, I like to point out that this is a very cursory overview of all the stuff in this game. There's a lot of pieces, a lot of things, and as I said, we did a complete live overview playthrough of it, but hopefully that gives you a quick idea of how the game works. One of the things I like about this game is the diversity that's involved here. You have your own race, and you have your own stuff for your own race. Then you have different things that are going to show up for each of the planets, which could be different per game. I remember, I said I wasn't going to talk about Empires of Void, but I will. There was a board that you put together, and I remember saying, why is the stuff the same on both sides of the board? It seems like they could have made different sides of these boards. Well, they took that to an extreme here. The planets are going to be in different, the stuff's going to be in different spots.
Yep.
The bonuses are going to be in different spots. The cards are different from game to game. You don't know the order that they're going to show up in. A giant space creature might show up at one point. A disease might show up. And the theme is just like, because of that, the diversity is there, but the theme really comes out of this for me.
Right. Yeah, it really does feel like a bunch of different races vying for control of the galaxy, or at least their little pocket of the galaxy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I don't think, this is not a game that I would compare to a 4X game.
No.
This is not, you are doing a little bit of that in this game, but
a smidge. I'm
not saying that this is like Twilight Imperium or Exodus. It's not that kind of game. It's set in space. It's better than Merchants of Venus. How's that?
Ooh, shots fired here.
It just comes out.
I know, right?
No, but there's some pickup and delivery in the game.
Yeah, there is.
There's definitely
different goal cards that you have to accomplish, picking up one thing from one place and then dropping it off in another, scoring points for it, that type of thing. But that's only a small part of the game. It's much more, I think, territorial, I guess you could say. You want to protect your the planets or the territories that you have, and you want to reap the benefits of having them for as long as possible. So there's a little bit of territory there thing, but there's a little bit of the drop off and pick up stuff too.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the combat in this game is there. A lot of the combat's against neutral planets.
Right.
Then you fight each other to some degree, but it never felt like there was this all-out war.
No.
It felt more like a surgical strike where you're like, I'm sorry I took your planet. That was an accident. Won't happen again.
It was not an accident.
No, but it's not this constant big battles and build a defensive line. You have one big world ship moving around and a few other ships, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I like that you can diplomatically bring the planets in, or you can fight, and there's different results for each.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in this game. Now, that's the negative thing. I have the rule book here. It's a 35-page rule book, and there's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
To the point where we did a live playthrough of this, taught by the designer, and I think we missed a few things.
Yeah.
That's a lot going on.
That's a lot of stuff, yeah.
This is a pretty big game to learn. But one of the things I do like is it uses a tried and true mechanism that I'm a big fan of, and that's pick an action on your turn. Other people can do that same action if they want to. And so that means I'm never sitting at this game bored.
Right.
Whatever you do, I might be able to do it.
Yep.
Or I'm going to get to go a lot more often. And this game is a 2-hour game maybe.
Yeah. And you're involved in almost every turn.
Yeah, that's I'm not upset about that.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. It's a great time when the downtime of the game is battled by its own mechanisms. Because sometimes downtime is just something that's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. But it's cool when a game will actually battle that downtime for you, and including you in every single round.
I also got to give props. Red Raven Games, always amazing production.
Artwork, yeah.
I love the production. Those big, clear first player markers are fantastic. The artwork, Ryan's really good at artwork, but I think he's best when he does space over his fantasy stuff, because he's doing weird aliens and stuff, and I like that. But the quality and components, you're getting your money's worth with this one for sure.
Even the box itself is real sturdy. I was thinking about that as we were getting started earlier, that this is a hefty game, and that box feels very durable.
Setup is a lot.
Yeah.
And like I said, teaching is a lot. This is not a game that's going to be casually played, I think, by any means. But it's also not like a mega game. It's a game that you can play and set up and get going. And obviously, more plays, you're going to learn more of the strategies and figure out just how you're going to basically move on your ship. Are you going to be working towards those bonus cards, which I should point out is definitely a bigger part of the game than I had anticipated.
Yes, it
You
is.
better get those bonus cards.
Yeah.
There are a lot of points.
Yeah, don't neglect it. There are some things that you can neglect in the game. Bonus cards are probably not one of them if you want to be competitive.
Is there other games you would compare this to?
Oh, wow. Not off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't think so. It does feel pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously I compared it a little bit to Empires of the Void 1, but there's a lot of space games out there. But this one does a good job at making you feel like you have a little empire, not a huge empire. You're fighting like in a little solar system, essentially, and you're going back and forth, but you're exploring. And when it's done, it feels like there's a bit of a story to it, depending on the events that come up,
Yeah.
Am I spreading disease? Is that giant monster on the planet? Or
Maybe Pulsar? 2849 or whatever.
No, it's very Euro-y, though.
Yeah, it's very Euro-y, but the board is similar in its layout and how you move around it and that type of thing. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm saying that as a positive thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
same
this fits like a hole in the collection. I don't have many games like this, or any games really like this, so it's different and unique. So I get why you call it Empires of the Void 2. I do wonder that that's going to chase off a lot of people. Because they're going to go, I didn't play the first one, or whatever you may have thought about the first one. I think you may dislike the first one and like this one.
Yeah. That's
Now,
very
some people
possible.
did not like it, they said, because they felt like just when everything was getting going, the game ends. I can see that point of view, but I
Abrupt
disagree
ending.
with it because I was pretty happy. I thought the game ends at a good point. Sure, you're starting to be able to do a lot more things, you have a lot more stuff, and the game ends, but that's a nice crescendo to the game for me. I don't want the game to be 3-4 hours.
Yeah, that's true. But I get what they're saying. Sometimes I don't like it when the game just comes to a screeching halt. And maybe that's what they're talking about. That
Yeah.
they feel like it prematurely ends. But no, I would agree with you. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome. Knowing on the front end that it's going to have a rather abrupt end will subdue some of that feeling as well.
Well, this one gets 2 world ships up for me. Fantastic production, fantastic art, very fun game, good time length. Checks off a lot of boxes. I'm struggling to think. The only thing I have really that's negative is the setup is long and a little fiddly. Other than that, the rest of it's great for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1.5 thumbs up. I didn't like it as much as Tom did, but I did enjoy it, and it is fun. It's one that I would readily play again should it hit the table. So very fun, and I enjoy. The artwork is really what kind of pulls it over the top and gives it that extra thumb for me, or half a thumb. But that can be said of any Red Raven game. Ryan really does a good job that way. So yeah, 1.5 thumbs up for me.
There you go. That's Empires of the Void 2. I'm Tom Vassell.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.